Geraldo has asked me to speak about anxiety, and that's a very current issue. So I wanted to tell you that my mission is to consider things like anxiety and workplace stress and just other things like procrastination, like last seminar, and think about how to deal with those realities using psychology to make our lives better. So that's the approach that I'm taking with considering anxiety in this seminar. So first of all, what is anxiety? Well, anxiety is different from fear, because fear is the perception of imminent danger. Imminent meaning it's right there, and it's an alert to action. Now, anxiety tends to be more persistent, and it's an apprehension, a worry of potential future threats. But either way, whether it's fear or anxiety, we know what it feels like, and it's uncomfortable. So, what is there to be anxious about? Well, right now, quite a lot. I looked at the figures for coronavirus, and I saw that yesterday in Brazil, there were over 3,700 new cases of coronavirus and over 400 related deaths. So I think that there's a fear of unknown there, an anxiety related to the unknown. So many of us are worried about our loved ones and ourselves, our own health and our future, our jobs, and it's all quite scary. And anxiety can be something that a lot of people are living with right now. And that's really hard, because it can impact you and your decisions at this crucial time. So I wanted to think about what the outcomes of anxiety are. What do we tend to do when we feel it? So we may react to it. Now, in America, react has quite a specific meaning. It tends to be more of a subconscious reaction. So you might feel anxious and then you might lash out in anger. So it doesn't tend to be a very calm, mediated response. It tends to be more of the reptile brain getting triggered into some behavior to protect you. Another outcome is that we can make sensible decisions, and that's different from the reaction. I tend to call that a response rather than a reaction. So that tends to be more of an intentional response, where we realize that we're facing a potential threat, and we deliberately and somewhat calmly choose how we're going to respond. So why do we feel anxious? If we look at it from an evolutionary psychological perspective, that's what evolutionary psychology is. It considers how our brains have developed into what they are now, given human evolution. Well, anxiety has an important function. It's a warning of possible danger, and it signals the body to go on high alert. So imagine if you didn't feel anxious. It might feel quite nice to not have that horrible feeling, but we would also lose out on an important warning system. So we feel anxious. What do we do about it? So opening it up here, what do you do when you experience anxiety? So feel free to unmute and share what you do.
Can you repeat that, please, the question?
Sure. What do you do when you experience anxiety? You feel it inside you, you feel anxious, and then what do you do about it?
I think actions can be, it's a good thing or it's a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you feel actions, for example.
Right.
I'm reading imperative about for example, the situation about the coronavirus.
Right.
Virus. I think, in my opinion, it's very, very, very complicated for us. Stay at home.
Right.
You can do everything, and every time I actions about that.
Right.
Because I can't change everything.
Right. Right. So it seems as though you're saying you have the anxious feeling and you have the situation. So you have two things to deal with, anxiety and reality. Is that right?
What I do, I try to find a way out, Liz. Like I try to watch, because reality sometimes is too hard to face it. So I try to read something or, watch a movie. Sometimes I try to, get distracted. That's a strategy I use so that I don't suffer that much,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And how would you describe that suffering?
I think that uncertainty is the worst thing to me. It's not be able to know what I will next week will be like, if I will stay home, if I will go out, if I will have a work or not, a job or not. So I think it's too much stress, So I think uncertainty. I love to stay home with my family and have fun. Sometimes I go crazy with my kiddo, but I like it. But I think uncertainty it's a problem. Like leaders, what are you gonna do next month? What is the plan? So that makes me a bit worried, and it makes me anxious as well.
Yeah, and I think that there was some study that was done that showed that people are more comfortable with certainty, even if it's a negative outcome, than uncertainty, where there's still a chance of a positive outcome. Yeah. So reality is stressful. On top of that, there's the uncertainty of what reality will look like, and then dealing with the suffering of anxiety. So yeah. So distraction, trying to ignore it. Does anyone have any other strategies that they use?
Come on, guys, you were allowed to speak here, right?
Yeah.
They are a bit shy, Liz.
I understand.
In my opinion, anxiety is as Rodrigo said, is bad things and good things. For example, I stay at home during 1 month and 1 week. I am very, very stressed with this situation. I like to be here with my family, but sometimes I don't know what I think about that. I think this is a learn of our life. After that, I think that some things will be different, but I think that the good things, it's about the person, about the value, about our lives, about the family, and valorizing our jobs, friends. I think that is this my opinion about anxiety.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Pardon?
Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I understand that. So, thank you. So,
okay, welcome.
There are a few strategies there. Ignoring it, distracting yourself. Another one I had was dealing with it, as in meditation or breathing or doing exercise. And then Paolo just now described another one, which I understood as considering all the positive values that will come out of it. So yes, it's stressful, but appreciating time with family and considering how workplaces are going to change and how there might be some positive changes too. So yes, there are ways of dealing with it. What would you like to do though? Like, would you like not to feel it? What's your relationship now to the anxiety itself? I'm going to isolate the anxiety, the feeling from reality, from the situation, from the uncertainty, just focusing on the anxiety. What is your relationship to that? Does that make sense? If your anxiety was sitting next to you, say, how would you feel about your anxiety? Feel free to unmute, and I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on that.
Liz, I think Adamo would like to answer that.
Okay.
Can you repeat just to clarify?
Sure. Hold on. I'd like to see you. I can't see you. Okay, hold on. The question is, what is your relationship to anxiety? So take the stress away, take the uncertainty away, and the actual situation. In this instance, say the coronavirus. Take that away. Just the feeling of anxiety. If your anxiety was sitting next to you, what would you be feeling about it?
Yeah. I have a golden rule that I try to follow every time. I think everything that happens outside of me, it's not able to change my feelings. For instance, if I receive a bad news, for instance, okay, it's a bad news. It's not so good, I surfer. I'm a human, but I try to surf only for 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, I keep moving my life and forget about. I try to do this.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's not
yeah.
easy, but I learned it and I try to practice every single day.
So it seems like because it's a discipline, it's become something you can do. Okay.
Yes.
And say if thoughts still come up, not thoughts, sorry. Say if anxiety still comes up after the 5 minutes, what do you do then?
I try to breathe deeply and try to understand it. If it's really, if it has some really relevance in my life or no, try to think more. How do you say it? More
Rationally?
Rationally, that's it. Because sometimes it's just a feeling, and I try to separate the feeling with a real problem, and I think, I can do something now and in order to solve. Yes, okay, go ahead. Or no, it's not possible. Okay, waiting for your time,
Right.
something like that.
Okay.
He's an engineer, Liz.
Well,
Yeah,
sounds like-
for me, it's so hard to divide this. So of course, it's for our Brazilian guys, and especially in this moment, it's very complicated to keep calm, to keep stabilized, because if you don't have problem with coronavirus, you have problem with politicians. So it's so hard to keep calm when you have the difference currency goes up to six times more than the Brazilian. For example, the euros today it's 6 times more than the Brazilian currency, and then it's very complicated. The all stock options in Brazil is falling down, and the up to the 1 hour difference. So it's complicated. What I can do myself to try or to forget the stress or forget the anxious, I try to put myself in another planet. How? Sometimes, or not sometimes, 100% of the time, when I start to see a move, I put myself into the move. My wife complains a lot because I close my ears, I close my eyes, just focus on the move, on the series, just to try to keep away from the problems for
right.
at least for 1 hour and a half.
Right. Interesting. Thank you. Does anyone else want to share?
No, thank you.
Okay.
No, just by the chance. That's it.
Anxiety, yes, anxiety.
Oh.
It's
Yeah.
a word in Portuguese. Anxiety.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, Liz, Diego would like to share something.
Okay.
So hi guys, so for me it's very difficult stay home because I live alone. So for me it's the first problem because all situations, and I live alone. So I working a lot of pressures in the company because my company has been difficult situations for the coronavirus, and then for me and I don't have time for the keep calm. So and last week and I started to run the bicycle
Right, a
bike for the bike, and then I have some minutes for the play the guitar. So I try keep calm and with this activity for this moment. But the last month for me was terrible for the company, and then working a lot of customers wants to terminate the contract with my company, so a lot of pressure for the results and in my companies.
Right.
For me, I am a heavy control for the situations, for my feelings, and now this week and started last week.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you. Thank you for being so honest about your experience.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, I've heard a few different ways that we have of relating to the anxiety. So, it's painful. It signals uncertainty. So, I'm guessing that not many people like feeling anxious, or how it feels, or anxiety that it even exists. So what I would like to consider, in addition to the strategies that you already use, right now there's distraction, there's going off into another world, closing your interaction, your interface with reality. There's meditation, breathing. There's a rational approach, which is to consider whether it's a pressing problem or something that is irrational and unlikely to touch you. So in addition to those things, I would like to introduce a way of changing your relationship to anxiety. So there tend to be two different approaches. The cognitive approach, cognitive means to do with the brain and thinking. It tends to look at the effects of anxious thoughts, anxious feelings, and the kinesthetic or visceral in your body response involves an awareness of how the body is responding to anxiety. So this approach I'm going to introduce, it kind of combines those two. And I really want to focus on now, no one's actually mentioned it, but I'm sure you've experienced it, the physical sensations of anxiety. When I'm feeling anxious, I can't think straight. My heart starts beating fast. I breathe very shallow. I don't like how it feels. Like it feels tight and painful in different parts of my body. So, do you have any thoughts about that, your physical experience of anxiety, and how you deal with that? Does that make sense? How does anxiety feel in your body to you?
Louise, I think Shayla or Mauricio would like to answer that.
Okay.
Mauricio wants to share his opinion. Talk, Mauricio.
Hi. Well, physically, I feel my when I am really anxious, my hair down. I don't know how can I say, Geraldo,
You go
my hair.
bald.
I
You
lose
your
hair. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
and I'm really anxious.
Right.
And I know I doesn't feel hungry also, so I lose weight.
Right. Yeah.
Basically that.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that.
To me, the main effect is that my breath gets so short and I can breathe. So I need to put myself to live that moment. Because when I feel anxious, I'm thinking I'm worried about the future. My brain is thinking just in the future, but I can put myself to feel now, what happened now, what I have control now. So if I think what happens, I have control about it. If the answer is not, I try to think in a different way and keep calm.
Right. So,
Liz, I think Darcy Diane would like to share something as well.
okay.
Oh, Diane just left.
Oh no.
I put too much pressure on her. Okay, go on, Liz.
Okay, well, if she comes back. So I want to suggest that you change your relationship to anxiety by listening to it. So we're going to go back to this analogy of anxiety is a thing. Imagine it as a part of you. And it wants to protect you from future harm. It's signaling, alert, alert, take action because there's a danger. So imagine if you listened to it rather than distracting yourself from it, breathing through it, or trying to rationalize it and say, no, I'm not going to deal with you right now, those things. So here are some steps. So what I'd like you to do right now is try and feel some anxiety. Bring up a situation that provokes anxiety in you. Feel free to close your eyes. Think about something that's current right now. And just notice how that feels in your body. For example, is your heart beating faster? Is your chest hurting? And just focus on feeling that feeling. You don't have to engage with any thoughts with it, just feel it. And sometimes in this exercise, that feeling can get very overwhelming. And that can sometimes be why we want to distract ourselves, because it can threaten to overwhelm us and take over. But it's okay, because if it becomes overwhelming, you can just say, ask it to soften back. Just soften back a little bit. You're still listening to it, but just back off just a little. And then continue listening to it and feeling it. And then notice if anything else is coming up. For example, is the sensation changing into another sensation? Are you feeling distracted right now? Are you thinking, oh, when is this going to be over? What am I going to have for dinner? Do you think of any flashbacks or any old memories coming up? Do you have any blocks? Is there something saying, nope, don't bother with this activity, just don't feel it? Or any negative criticisms like, what is Lizbeth going on about? This doesn't even make sense. Just notice those things if they come up.